Welcome. We back with another episode. The Nat Podcast. Oh, it's not a podcast.
No, it is a podcast.
Right? It's kind of a podcast.
It's kind of a podcast. So let's definitely get into it. I want to do a little host check-in. Say your name and what's new. Like, what's new with you, Ray Lady?
What's new with me? What is new with me? I didn't even think about it. Nothing. There's never nothing new with me. I just
Same
play
old
it. It is
thing.
the same thing every week. It's soccer got canceled. Whoop-de-doo.
Soccer got canceled.
Somehow that was my fault.
Shout out North Soccer Club.
Right? It rained.
It's always
It
our
rained. What about you, Miss Laura? What's new with the Moolah household?
We're good. Mr. Mullah is at work, unfortunately. He's not too thrilled about that. But so he wasn't able to make it, but I'm here and we've been busy. We got a new puppy. That's why I wasn't here last week because, puppy life. And it actually worked out that I didn't come because she was so skittish and scared that like even if I brought her here, like it was not gonna work. But she's really beautiful. Her name is Sugar. So my dog Chico and Sugar. Their names are from the Friday movies. So
Too funny.
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I named her Sugar. Like it's
hilarious,
actually
the
Sugar.
Chico.
Yeah. That's been my theme, and like I had a cat named Debo, which went with my ex, but we had a cat named Debo. Like that's just my pet name
Too funny.
theme. But other than that, I've been busy. I've been working as usual, trying to come up with some like branding plans, really making moves behind the scenes. I haven't executed anything yet just because I'm still trying to come up with a game plan. But I mean, I've started the process. I've already applied for my FID number. Like I'm creating an actual company. And once I'm ready to launch, like it's going to be an all encompassing company. Like I'm going to have merchandise, which isn't going to be like the traditional like t-shirts, hats and stuff like that. Like it's going to be
That's what's
true
up.
merchandise. I'm going to have, once things reopen, which things are not looking good for the music scene right now, but once things reopen, I'm gonna be hosting really good shows and open mics and things like that, and trying to just brand myself.
That's what's up. What's up.
What about you?
Yeah, in terms of me, it's just been a lot of trying to get the podcast up and going. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of, not a lot. It's been a good amount of support from different people. So that brings me into this thing. I want to shout out the CashApp donations from the last couple weeks. Big shout out to Cam. Big shout out to Antec. Big shout out to Denzel. Big shout out to Tyler. And big shout out to all the anonymous donations. This show wouldn't happen without the support from the community. So
We appreciate you.
that's pretty much all I've been doing is trying to pre-plan and trying to stay healthy with all this that's going on in the world right now. That's pretty much it.
Facts. Oh yeah. Yeah, things are looking scary out there, but it looks like Trumper is recovered for the most part.
Was he ever sick?
Right. Dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun.
Conspiracies.
Plot twist. Yeah, I mean, but that doesn't change the fact that still people are still getting sick, and now more than ever, as numbers are starting to rise. Like right now, they just announced that the schools are not going back until at least January. And
Boston Globe had something about maybe another shutdown.
Oh,
Wow.
really?
Yeah.
That
was
what's
in today,
crazy?
so I don't know.
My boss hinted at the shutdown before it happened. Like he said it was something like, I don't know, because one of the owners of our company, he like is really tied in with like all the state legislators and stuff. And I remember that Friday leaving work, and he said, prepare for a shutdown. And I was like,
Wow.
my boss is like got the intel, but I think
Wow.
it ended up.
Yo,
too.
that's funny. It was Friday, March 13th, if anyone wants to look back.
Oh my god.
That was the day you're
Yeah.
talking about. And
Because we took the kids
that
out
whole
for a
week,
weekend.
things were starting to get hairy. And we were on vacation. We went to a hotel, and I was like, yo, Rachel, this might be the last like time where we're able to just like hotel it and be out and about. And I was like, I told her, take the kids out of school that Thursday and Friday because we were going to be going to Cape anyway. And then the next Monday, school was shut down.
Yeah.
So
It was nuts. Everything shut down. It was nuts.
it was wild. That was a whole wild time.
And
Yeah, it's definitely an
crazy
experience.
because you're right. I mean, if things don't start looking up, which I mean, definitely in Framingham things are not. And I remember when they first put out that map, they said, right now there's only 2 cities in red, and I think it was like Lynn and somewhere else. I don't know. But those red cities are starting to grow.
Attleboro is a red state. North Attleboro is a yellow.
It's crazy.
I mean,
Framingham,
New Bedford's a red now. It's like almost a lot of Bristol County is pretty much going into the red. And that's
right?
Mm.
So it'll be interesting to see because that looks like it's getting worse. I used to keep track of the daily COVID cases, and now it depresses me. It makes me so sad.
Yeah.
And I just, I hope that we can get back to normal soon because, I mean, even like not being able to go out and perform at shows has been hitting hard. And like, there's been shows, but like, I don't know if I feel comfortable doing it just yet. Like, I still want to be pretty socially distanced and, be careful at least, but.
Yeah.
That's just it. When the shows shut down for a lot of the artists, I'm like, that hit all you guys hard. I'm sure emotionally, mentally.
Oh my
gosh.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I mean, I started doing music out of like a major life event. So like to not have that as an outlet, like that for me was an outlet to kind of keep myself sane because what I was going through was rough. I was going through a messy divorce, custody, and it was just it was hard. And that was it was really therapy. And especially going out to shows and meeting people, and now like I don't have that, and I'm like, crap. Like I don't even drink. I have this like bottle of wine that I bought yesterday. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have a nice night. I cooked some good dinner, and I don't even have it. Like
That's what's great about this podcast, though, is that people can be coming on that are not active and are an artist, and they can be coming on here and getting some outlet out there.
Right.
Getting
some exposure.
That's encouraging to take my spot, people. I'm only supposed to be
That's
temporary.
so funny. I wanna thank her for bringing that up because today's a special episode. It's we have an empty seat over here, and that's to symbolize that there's always gonna be an open seat that people could come on if they wanted to. This week we didn't have well, to be honest, there's no one there because obviously people wanted to, it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So
life
but then I was
happens.
all right, we're gonna have it symbolize that anybody could come on, anybody could speak their mind. And today's special,
to be an artist.
you don't have to be an artist, but today's special is gonna be women's empowerment. The women outnumber the men today, so we're just gonna chop it up,
We're going to talk to the ladies.
One thing I want to say before we really get into it is we want to start doing Artist of the Week submissions. It could end up being more than one artist. It could be Artist and Song of the Week. But we want to start playing a little bit of music mixed in the podcast. So if any artists are interested in that, you could go to 508usa.com. You could submit. There's a submit button, and you just put your name, an email or a number, and then send us a link, SoundCloud or YouTube, and we'll get your music on the show and spread it out.
And it won't be like those review shows that you see on Facebook where they're like, oh yeah, that's fire. Like, no, we'll give you constructive criticism, we'll give you compliments, but we'll help you fine tune your music. So I'm definitely I think I may be a little bit more critical only because there's just a lot of things. Like, I don't want to be a Simon Cowell, but like, I'm just going to help you, And so don't be afraid to submit your music, but know that you're going to get a lot more than you just, submitting it to some randos live stream on Facebook,
That's fire, dude.
Right. Oh my God. No. And I was so mad. There was one that I submitted my music to, and like, there were so many issues. Like, he forgot to play my song, and then he went through 3 people, and I'm commenting. I'm like, you're supposed to pay my song. Like, I paid you, $5, whatever it was. This was like the second submission that I'd done. And he's like, oh, no, I got you. And I was just so aggravated because it's like, you're running a review show. And then at the end, he was just like, oh, that was nice. I'm like, I sat there waiting.
For something like, it was amazing. It was like this hook was great.
Right.
Something like that.
Like, I have a half a mind to, request a refund on CashApp. Like, I'm so mad. But, they just do it for the clout and the money, and it's not a real review. Like, so we got you. Submit.
That's true.
Please.
Definitely submit. Artist of the Week coming up. Song of the Week coming up for sure. And now let's break it into the topics. I want to hear what the ladies have to say on... We got a couple topics to discuss this week, and I'll start it off and hear what you guys have to say. But are you surprised how quickly the protests stopped? There was a lot going on it was around June, a lot of protests going on. By summer, it was all like stopped. I haven't seen another Black Lives Matter protest.
Was it Chad? Was that what they
Chad,
named it?
Chad,
That's what it
yeah.
was. My bad.
Seattle.
Chad, yeah. But yeah, that they went forever with that. They did go forever with that. They held on for a while.
Yeah, they held on.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't dissolve quickly for them. I wish I had followed. I kind of gave up following up on some of the stuff after a while. I'm not gonna lie, because it was just so depressing to see it. And there's so much, and it was going on for a while. I've also been one of those people that I try not to watch the news in the mornings. I try not to watch the bad news because it does reflect on you negatively throughout the day. If you watch bad news, you're probably going to be in a bad mood the rest of your day. So
right.
I did stop watching news.
The world's scary out there. I mean, I wasn't surprised. Like, I feel like these protests just keep happening because people are angry because no change is happening. And so it's like, until there's actual real change that isn't just a police station trying to cover up their boo-boo, you know, it's not going to be any different. And, you know, you're always going to have those people who are angry because we don't want to keep dying. We're done. There's no reason that in 2020 a person of color can be treated differently than a Caucasian American. Like, that's just, you know, we're done with that.
Educating your children on how, when they finally start to drive, how they should respond when they're pulled over.
Right.
My son's half and half, and I mean, he's predominantly looks his dark side. So I mean, yeah, I had to educate him on how he's gonna have to conduct himself when he's pulled over, because it's different when I get pulled over. I know it's different when I get pulled over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and unfortunately you can't like teach him to act how some of us act, which is not saying like you pull over and you're disrespectful, but you can't always just be like, I know my rights, and like pull out the cards of what you know you can get away with, because sometimes they just don't give.
They don't care.
And they're gonna violate you. So just knowing your rights sometimes isn't always enough. So like, it's cool to educate your kids on like, oh, this and this, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, it's happening to a lot of people that are just pulling out their ID and registration, and they're still getting smoked for no good reason.
Sleeping after a work shift, the cops break in and shoot you down. Oh, you know what? Actually, I just just last night, so there's this guy, I'm not gonna name names, just because I don't want to create drama, but this guy who recently moved to another state from our area, and seems like the area that he's been in, he's kind of adopted their very, you know, conservative and just kind of really abhorrent views. And he shared a picture of Breonna Taylor last night, and in the caption he wrote, "Whoa, what a whale," commenting on her figure. And, you know, a couple of us that know him went in the comments and said, like, this is really bad. And, you know, one person went as far as to say, like, you're sitting here disrespecting someone who lost their life while you're also taking advantage, because he's a rapper, taking advantage of the culture that you're making fun of and the culture that you're so against. And meanwhile, dropping the N-word every other word when you're out in public and in your songs, like, That's hypocrite. That's awful. Like, that's just about as low as you can go.
My question for that is, like, what stops our local communities from smoking that kid? Right. Like, why do people go around, like, how come the dude that smoked Nip is like million around jail and million around the hood? My question is, how come, like, people in the hood, if they see someone like trying to just start a business, they want to smoke them? But when someone violates people, no one wants to smoke them. Like, I'm pretty how are you going to say that in the current climate and then still live? I think that's part of the problem, is we got so many tough guys, but no one's smoking that guy for saying stuff like that. Like,
right. And I thought about it, because I was like, to me, it deep inside, I was like, I want to put you on blast for this very reason. If you were here, you wouldn't dare say that, because the friends that you have, or that you had, because I'm sure you won't have them after this, the friends that you have, you're never going to say that in front of me and not expect me to choose. Like, we laid into him, and, you know, he of course deleted the post, but hello, I got a screenshot, like
screenshot everything,
you know, and
you have to have the proof.
And as much as I wanted to just sit there and blast him so that people could see the type of person he is, so that when you're sitting there, you know, he's promoting his SoundCloud link and this and that, no, you're dismissed. Like, you're canceled. But then I was like, I don't know if I can. Like, and I really should have. Honestly. But I don't know. I just don't like public drama. I try and stay away from that. I don't like too much conflict.
That kind of leads into this next little topic. Like, most people don't like drama, but what else needs to happen to get the average American to like stand up and
We don't have a judicial system that works.
Right.
So that's stopping from Americans from standing up.
No, but I think that's the fear. Everybody's afraid, like, if I go do this, I'm the one that's going to get in trouble. The other person just gets their ass beat, but I'm the one that's going to get in trouble now.
Right. I mean, I think that, you're right. There's not a lot of people, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement. There's on the other side, they think that the movement itself is not supporting the cause. And, people just find excuses to not stand up because, as far as I'm concerned, you see another human being, well, no matter what color they are, you see another human being being wrongfully murdered. You should feel passionate about that because that could be you by another flip of the coin at some point in your life,
Yeah.
So it's like, as a basic human being, we should want to support everyone that, someone who's being wronged. And I don't understand. But, I think the biggest thing is that through all of these protests, every single time one of these protests happen, like I said, the police station may make a change or two in their policies, but there's no actual reform. There's no law that comes into place, preventing these things from happening. There's no nationwide change. So, maybe people are saying, well, I don't know if I want to get involved because it's clear that nothing's changing,
That's a good point.
That was a point
That's
That was a point I had said something. I had mentioned about California has a law. It's a mental health law or it's a code that when officers are hearing this code along with everybody else, that they know when they're approaching a situation that's involving police or whatever it may be, they know it's a mental health situation. So they're not going in necessarily guns blazing. And it's only in California from what I've looked at. And I was like, that's something that this whole country should be on board with. Why have they not all done that? So that way cops are knowing. Because once the dispatchers hear that it's medical, only medical is hearing it, actually, from what it sounds. And not all the dispatchers actually really conversing appropriately. And cops are coming on scene first.
Right. And
It takes about 8 minutes for an ambulance to get there versus your cop who's getting there within the first 5 minutes. So they don't know. They're hearing that there's an argument, whatever it may be. They're not knowing that, this is actually going on because they're actually on scenes while ambulance is still hearing what's actually like the content.
Like the
It's
autistic children that are getting harmed by police, like that does not make sense to me. That does not make sense that, because it doesn't matter what color of the skin. This is an autistic child.
Yeah.
This is someone who does not understand what's going on and you're perceiving them as a threat. Why?
Yeah.
And you, with all the
He
methods
was 12
that
years
you
old,
have
that kid, I think you're talking about.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have all the methods to disarm someone. Just like every single time one of these school shootings happen, you guys are able to get the shooter in custody alive.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse. There's no excuse why you have to use a lethal form when you have a taser, you have a baton, you have, whatever else that you have. It does not make sense. And there needs to be nationwide change. It's funny, did you ever watch on, I think it's on HBO, oh, what the heck is the name of that show? I have to think about it, but in the show it's set in the future and the police, they have to wear masks because there's been so much tension between people and police. And in that show, the police officer's firearm is locked in their car, and in order for them to access their firearm, they have to show that the situation demands it.
Wow.
And it's like, when
That's
you
crazy.
think about that, like,
That's too
That's
far.
crazy.
Yeah,
There's
that's
ways,
a little-
there's
that's a
ways
little
you
too
can go too far either
Because then
way.
everybody's going to die
Right.
at that
So-
situation if they're having to say, I need it for this reason.
yeah.
So, what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to pick up the real talks on that stuff. We're gonna have to pick it up, but in order to keep the flow going,
Yeah.
I want to hear about some other stuff, some other topics. Like one we have written down is, why don't artists go out and street promote? Like, really quickly, let's start with Rachel. You're not an artist. You have experience with different artists and businesses. So what do you think keeps people from going out on the street and promoting or making a business card or something?
It's going to be too honest and too brutal.
Yeah.
You guys are going to hate me. You're lazy.
Yeah.
lazy or
You're lazy. Get out there and promote your shit, man. Get out there. Get on the streets. Yeah, it might seem pushy, but how else are you really gonna get out there? You know, it's like it is. And I have to admit, I get
Rachel
people
spitting
have their
facts.
lives, and I get that that's hard. You got your kids. You got and sometimes you're making your bread for your your passion. But you got to get out there and make time for your passion, too, because if either that, you're going to figure out who you are as your artist,
What about you, Miss Laura? What do you think is the reason holding artists from getting out, getting on the street, promoting, passing out business cards, flyers, mixtapes?
I agree with Rachel. And I think it has to do with the convenience of the internet. It's much easier to sit there and make a Facebook post, share a link, than it is to go out there and then the kind of the social awkwardness, because I feel
now
like
with
lot
COVID
of
too.
Yeah, but I think that people are just afraid of face-to-face connection because it's more convenient to be behind a screen. So it's funny. I learned that lesson big time. I had a showcase last year. And I had done all my promoting, and I, did the best that I could. This was a relatively new venue, and so I wasn't expecting to draw a crowd. And at that time, I was still pretty new, too. So I wasn't expecting to draw a crowd. But the person who kind of connected me with the venue, she had gone out on the street and was just talking to random people as they were going into another bar. And she managed to pull a group of people into the venue just by talking to them. She's like, hey, what are you guys doing? And then, they all sat down at the bar, and I'm seeing these people. I'm like, and I asked her, I'm like, how the heck did you get them in? She's like, I just went up to them and I talked to them and I said, hey, we have this showcase going on. This girl singing,
I used to see it when I went to Vegas. They'd have guys promoting like, hey, we got free drinks. Your first shot's free. When they're coming into places, and they're getting people to walk out those lines and go to their club. It's a good idea.
Crazy.
But I think the other aspect too is that people, to a certain degree, and I'm not saying this is as a blanket statement, but a lot of artists rely on their talent alone to get them in front of people. And they say, well, I'm entitled to have people reaching out to me for my music, looking to me for my music because it's so good. And it's like talent is not going to get you that far.
To be honest, the hip hop is not my genre that I like to listen to. And so coming into this world is a little bit different, having to learn to appreciate a different aspect of music. So for me, I wouldn't have been going out looking for this music, but now I actually do search out more than I used to, versus listening to the old stuff that I would always listen to. So it's nice to, it gets me more aware of who's out there.
All right. So in order to not keep this pooping on artists, we're going to skip the next little subject, and I'm going to save that one for another week. Let me save this one.
We could always go to Cardi and completely contrast now.
Well, I'll save that for a second. Let's just rush through this. You're right. We can do Cardi. What do y'all want to say? Speak your thing. I just feel like it's going to be a couple minutes on this. We'll come back to Cardi. That
would be a complete...
Really quickly, because I want to get through some of these. Worst or first job you ever had, you want to say something quick. Rachel, you want to just...
My first one was embarrassing. It was, a one-day stint at a Christmas tree.
One day.
I did not go back the next day. It was
Christmas
awful. Dude, it was my bad because I went around the holiday season at Christmas trees to get a new job. First job ever. How dumb was I? How dumb was I?
That's starting your first day's Black Friday.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it was Black Friday, to be honest.
What about you, Miss Laura?
My first job was Stop and Shop, and it was shitty, but my worst job I would have to say was honey baked ham.
Oh geez.
Yeah, because I started in the springtime, so right before Easter, and same thing. Easter was nuts. I ate all the ham that I could possibly want in the world, but it was just the most boring job. Most of the time when it wasn't holiday season, I was just sitting there, and I don't like to be stagnant in a job. I need to be doing stuff, and literally sitting there for one customer to come in for a sandwich, no, I felt so empty.
That sounds like it'd be kind of
my worst job was I got a job at a print shop because I went to school for graphics, and I'm not going to get into detail, but...
Was it the people or the work?
It was the people, and
I know that story.
I never got back into graphics again. Only graphics I do is for the business. I don't do I did a graphic for you like a while ago, but I don't really do graphics anymore because I got a job in a print shop. They had a huge order for like hoodies, one of the biggest like shops in that town. I did the order for that, so I wasn't a chump. And yeah, man, they was on some crazy stuff that I'm not gonna get into. But the shop shut down like within like a year or two after I left, and yeah, that was the worst job I
That's
ever
how
had.
you know it's definitely the
It
management.
turned me off. It turned me off from like a
definitely.
thing I went to school for and like I'm certified to do.
Yeah,
Never
that's
did it again.
crazy.
I know, right?
Crazy.
It's like a
But it's a sad
loss of
reality,
education.
especially as an adult, to sit here and have to suffer through a job simply because you need to make income to survive. Like, and you know, that's what my mom used to. That was the one thing that my mom instilled in me that I was so grateful for. Is she said, if you don't have a kid, you don't need to stay anywhere. You don't belong. You don't deserve to endure anything. And I mean, even her, when she was raising me and my sister, you know, she did switch a couple of jobs when the environment was toxic, because even though she had children, she knew she could not be a part of
you
it.
can't.
And she suffered a lot because a lot of people tried to take advantage of her because she barely spoke English. You know, she was a single mother of two. But no, my mother stood up for herself, and you know, thankfully now she's doing really well. But she definitely taught me that. And I remember, I think from age 16 to about 20, I went through like 10 jobs because I just did it. As soon as the bullshit started, I'm like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah, that's
you can
understandable.
You can get so many jobs at minimum wage.
Right.
Yo, shout out your mom right now. What's your mom's first name?
Mommy Celia.
Shout out.
Oh, she's a queen. I love her so much, you know, especially growing up, you know, not having my dad around. And I've rekindled with my dad recently, but I mean, I went 20 years without him, and I never went without as a kid. She did everything possible. Every Christmas was great. Every birthday was great. And that woman worked hard, and she suffered through a lot. So Mommy, I love you. You're my best friend.
Shout out to the good moms out there.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And pray for
So,
those who weren't.
real quickly, I think we could rip through these two right here. Venues can be open at half capacity or 50 people per gathering, but still won't like book events. How do you feel as a creator that the government has now said events could have 50 people? You know, that's a good number for most of us because getting 50 people out is not always
Yeah,
the
I
easiest.
know.
So if the venue is usually 100, but now it's 50, that sounds like something we could do. So, but how do you feel about them still not being willing to, even with the okay, to open up?
I mean, I think that it has to, and I don't know too much because I'm still relatively new at hosting shows, but I think it has to do with the experiences that they've had in the past, and maybe they're judging those experiences, you know, and I don't think that's correct. You know, if you've had issues with hip hop shows in the past, then, you know, and I remember booking with one venue, which will remain nameless, was always a challenge. Like, I always had trouble with this one specific venue, and I couldn't understand why. Like, my first show, the sound guy started complaining that one artist brought a musician and he wasn't prepared and this and that, and I'm like, well, I've been talking to your event host for however long. I don't know why this is an issue. And he would give us a lot of attitude, and I'm like, why are you so hostile against me? I'm just trying to throw a show, man. Like, I'm trying to put money in your pocket, because at the end of the day, my guests are spending money at your bar.
Right.
And I don't see any of that return, you know. In fact, I pay you to host a show here so that you can make money.
Yeah.
So I think there's just a lot of negativity and negative images surrounding hip hop shows that maybe can contribute to that.
Well, some of the venues you talked about they would throw rock shows, but not hip hop. Or they had an issue with that kind of stuff.
I
It's
talked to
like-
the movie theater, and they didn't want to show an original composition piece of work.
And
They said
everybody would be
if I
sitting down too. And that's what I'm wondering, is that if people are worried that, oh, well, we have a venue and it's a show, people are going to be up bouncing around, like mosh pitting, like they're expecting. I'm like, do they not?
No,
I'm like,
people don't
you have
really
to be-
do that
people
at
don't
hip
do
hop
that.
shows.
They
No,
don't. It's not
no,
like
people
that.
don't talk to each other. I'll be real with you as someone that's done it. At hip hop shows, people don't talk to anybody. If they don't know each other, it's usually clicked up, 8 different groups spread around.
Exactly.
And that's how hip hop shows go. So
And if they're with their own people, like,
tend to
what's the
stay.
risk of COVID? Like, there's no excuse.
Yeah.
There's no valid excuse here. So then you beg the question, why are they discriminating against hip hop shows?
Exactly.
You know? So it's crazy. But it's hard, especially in this area, because, you know, the shows are really what make artists thrive. And, you know, we don't
Even
really
the
have
venues.
right. Like, when you go to places like New York and California, like, they have such bustling underground music scenes. And what do we have? We have virtually nothing. A couple of, you know, smaller platforms will come up, but then there's no real, like, solid music community.
Yeah, they don't collab.
No.
The ones that do, I've seen a couple companies. I was like, wow, they're starting to make room, and they don't collab with the other handful that are doing big things. Like,
Or they want you to support them, but they don't want to support you.
Yeah, there's no mutual support. It's all like, I
yeah.
want to be the top dog. It's
Right.
that kind of deal.
And that's not right. And that's
Yeah.
why we suck as a music community, because we're just we're not working with each other. It's every man for themselves, and woman for themselves. Like, and nobody's sitting here like, even if we as artists support each other, that's already a huge support, a huge fan base. So why can't we do that? Why do we got to be selfish?
that leads into this like next topic I had right here. Are you surprised crime isn't higher, given that the government and the citizens seem to be acting like it's every man for themselves?
That
With the
is
every man
true.
for themselves thing, I'm honestly a little shocked that crime isn't way up. Like, home invasions isn't way up. Deals
is still
gone wrong.
respected, huh? People's
Drug
homes
deals
are still
gone
respected.
wrong isn't gone up. Like,
And are you talking through the COVID crisis or just
through the
through
COVID crisis and people not getting the extra stimulus. Like, once they
Yeah.
cut like stimulus, they cut the unemployment like extra. I'm really surprised that crime isn't higher.
I think a lot has to do with the fact that we didn't experience like a true shutdown, because at the end of the day, it wasn't advisory. Like, you know, there were businesses that closed, but a lot of businesses were able to stay open through loopholes, you know, be it, you know, it's a bar that also has a kitchen. Well, hey,
Yeah,
now
so
we
they were
can throw
serving their
food.
food.
Yeah.
Now they're doing hot dogs.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
exactly. So, you know, I
Yeah.
think that you know, if we experienced a true shutdown, or like, you know, what happened in Italy, like,
Right.
no, yeah, there'd be looting, there'd be riots, there'd be everything, you know.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
now
well, if liquor stores had shut,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, but then
I really think.
but then liquor stores didn't get shut down, but didn't dispensaries get shut down? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I think they did for a little bit.
They
It was
did
like a
actually.
week.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
a couple
It was a
weeks,
week
a
or
week or
so.
two, or
People
maybe.
can have their libations, but they can't have their smoke. That doesn't make sense to me. Why?
Yeah, that's amazing. Alcohol, the withdrawals. I think that's really what they were boiling down to. It would have
Yeah,
loaded
that
up
would've loaded the hospitals
with
with-
withdrawals and yeah.
Which is a good
That's the only
point,
thing
but
I
I
can
think that, you know, the people who smoke, you know, especially for
Hardcore?
medical reasons, you know, they
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
their medicine just as. I mean, there's always just been this stigma against weed, you know,
Yeah.
and it's crazy. Like, we should be at a point where we're starting to let those go, and the
Yeah.
federal government needs to get their head on straight. But I digress. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think that things are gonna start to get worse, because now we're experiencing, you know, on one side, people want things to reopen because they're worried about the economy. They're worried about the, you know, the long-term effects of any sort of shutdowns and restrictions. But then,
I mean, a lot of places closing down permanent.
but then, you know, you have the other side of it, which is, you know, people are really worried about this virus, and they have a right to be, you know, albeit like pre-existing conditions and things like that. So, you know, I think that's gonna create tension, and maybe we will start to see, you know, if things don't start reopening soon. I mean, I saw that the other day they were protesting at the State House, the Mass State House, over the schools.
Yeah.
You know, a
Really?
lot of parents are outraged because they want, you know,
The
they say
mandated flu vaccines, is it something to do with that maybe too?
yes, yeah, that's another thing, a point of contention, because, you know, there's a
They're
lot
home.
of people who don't. Yeah.
My kids are home. Why should they have to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't necessarily have to, they're home. I got my flu shot to make sure my family's protected, because I just know I do that. Make sure my mom can't get hers. I take mine.
Right. But then, you know, like one of my coworkers, she doesn't get it normally because she has a reaction to it. She has a
Yeah.
really bad reaction, you know, and so she doesn't do it for her kids either. And her
Mm-hmm.
kids are the same way. So, and my daughter, oh my goodness, I took her to get the flu vaccine. She was like, as soon as we got there, she's like up on my shoulder. She's like, I don't want to go, and crying and screaming and crying. And we get in the room, which is so impersonal now. Cause did you
Yeah.
take them yet?
I haven't taken them yet. No.
And
It's
I don't
offered
know if
them.
it's the same across all doctors, but hers, they have like, you don't even get brought by the nurse. Like, you are given the room number at the beginning, and then you walk straight to your room. No nurse greets you, or no nurse
wow.
greets you or anything. They just come and give you the shot. It's very like
Oh, wow.
robotic, and I don't know.
It's not like that down this way. They do still take you back. They'll come get you.
That's
It's not too
crazy.
bad.
Yeah,
What else?
this world, it's crazy. I want it to be over.
We went through a lot this
Me
show.
too.
I think that what we'll do to finish up for our last segment is this little industry lessons, which shout out Miss Laura. One of her ideas for the show was each week we do like a industry lesson. Even though I know like I don't have much great lessons, but I know there's probably a few things that I have come across that I could pass along, and same with you. And
Right.
even Rachel has learned some things just in her video, doing a lot of my music videos and behind the scenes work. She's learned some tricks. So
Absolutely.
the topic today, industry lessons, is going to be like music distribution. I'd like to hear from Miss Laura for a second real quick, because I know you've released some stuff. Tell us about the company you used or what you'd recommend or not liked about how they distribute it.
So, when I first started, I kind of took the advice of others because I didn't really know anything about music distribution. So one person said DistroKid, and that's what I went with, In hindsight, what I wish I would have done is researched, because now, even if I wanted to switch, my music has to get pulled. So there go all of my streams. And then they basically have to reestablish. So I basically, if I want to keep my streams, which I do pretty good numbers on Spotify, I don't want to lose those. I just have to stay with DistroKid. But, I mean, I don't mind DistroKid. I pay, I think, $35 a year. And then I can upload as much as possible. I can set releases ahead of schedule. Now they have these things where you can make little promo videos and stuff. I see my analytics, which is a huge piece of advice. Pay attention to your analytics everywhere. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. It will give you the demographics of who's listening to your music, which will help you target advertisements. You'll be able to see how many streams. You can keep track of what you're making as far as royalties go, which, I mean, obviously it's not much these days. I think it's like 0.4 cents per stream, but it gives you a lot of knowledge that you can apply to marketing and promoting your music. But overall, I have very little complaints about DistroKid. The only thing I wish is that maybe if there was another platform that I did my research ahead of time. So look at all of them, see what fits you the most, and then, make your decision.
Yeah, for me to say it real quickly, I want to speak on this. This is something like I've passed on to some artists. A lot of the companies are charging you on the year. Like Miss Laura was saying, you got to research. What I'm going to tell the artists paying attention this far in the episode is look at CD Baby. You're going to pay one time. You're going to pay $50, not 20, not 30, but $50 one time. Your great grandkids will never have to pay to keep your music up. Your music's going to be up as long as the internet's there. And over time, it's going to save you money. So my best advice is just to look at all the options and weigh it out over time. If you only want your music up for 1 year, TuneCore might make sense. If you're like me, and you want your music to be around for 1,000 years, and it sounds crazy, but you don't want to have people paying to keep your music up long after you're gone. So make sure that when you're signing these distribution deals, you're looking in the fine print and find something that's a one-time fee you pay and it's up there forever. And that's pretty much the reason why I would recommend CD Baby, but I know they all get the job done. So just do your research. And I think for industry lessons, the lesson of the day is do your research. Don't be afraid to take a month before you make a decision and just weigh out all the options.
Compare them. Print out the page where they have all the pricing and breakdowns. Print them all out and line them up in front of you and look at the details, like he said, because like I said, I didn't even know that about CD Baby. And I know with DistroKid, you have to pay the legacy fee in order to keep your music there if you don't make your yearly payment. So if next year I'm, broke for some God forbidden reason and I can't make that yearly payment, my music goes bye-bye. So
I can't imagine that.
And now
I can't imagine that. That'd be terrifying.
Yeah. Unless you pay the legacy fee, which I think it's something crazy. It's got to be like $30.
I think on the legacy
Per
fee,
song.
if you look into the legacy fee, all my fans of other distribution ones, you got to die to even be eligible to pay the legacy fee.
Oh,
There's only
That's
certain
nuts.
situations where that legacy thing applies, and it's like when the artist dies, then if that $50 fee has been covered, then it will stay up forever. So there's all kinds of things. Just look into it, research. That's my best advice.
Yeah.
To close the show today, we'll go around once more, say where we can find us. But if you want to support, Cash App, $508 USA. That's how you can get it in. We'll be reposting and sharing everyone that contributes.
We appreciate you all.
Right.
RaeLady84 in the building. I'm
Yeah.
LameGenius.
Ms. Laura Michelle.
Any last words you want to get out before we get out of here?
Early voting is open. I need you all to go and cast your vote, please. You can look it up online. There's a website that has all of the early voting locations because
Yeah.
it's different than your regular voting location. But get out and vote, get it in there, and stay safe. And
I think
stuff.
they're even open on Sunday because we saw people
Yeah.
outside our town hall.
It started
Wow.
yesterday.
So yeah,
Awesome. Yeah,
there's no
definitely vote.
excuses this year. No excuses. If you want who you want in the office, vote.
Even if you put right in Kanye West or something,
Oh,
just
my
get out there and
goodness.
vote. No, don't do that.
Kanye.
I'm kidding. I'm totally
Yeah.
kidding.
The Nat Podcast. Another episode. Thank y'all so much for tuning in.
Thank you. Bye. All right.